I'm Sarah Lee Boyce, known at William Holland as Sarah Lee. I am the one of 4 Opal teachers, and we are using the 14-step method that I created years ago in opal cutting. It is not a cabochon cut. It is what we term stroking, where we can put domes on very, very shallow pieces and turn out a total and beautiful completed cabochon. The technique is different than what we term cabbing. Okay, the first thing we do
On the shoulder.
on the shoulder. Now, it tickled me. Nancy said while we were in here the other night, gonna get wet. Well, that's why this is here, so it'll help you out a little bit. So, water. Now, I'm gonna show you a trick. You see how that geyser, the small holes are going this way, the big holes are here. I want to be able to bring this geyser in and lay it down with no obstruction on the twists and turns. If you come in and turn your geyser so the small holes are facing you, then that puts the hose in a way that you don't get it tangled. We don't have to take hose out, repair them, this type of thing. So your geyser is very important. The geyser must follow each step that you do. This is your water source. I'm going to explain the pieces here. Your light with your towel and your flag. I think this is the Greek flag, come to think of it. White and blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
You dry. Then you come up here after you knock everything off, and you dry here and here. Then you inspect the stone. What we have here is information as to when and why you're going to be cleaning the machine. We have a nail brush, we have scrubbers. If we get a really contaminated wheel, we can work it out with an agate or a eraser. Then as we're moving, we keep the wheels clean by dunking in water. And the big cleanup is at the end of the week after we have all cut Boulder. Now, Boulder is one of the most favorite opals there is right now, but it is a jewel to work. It's dirty. It is an ironstone, a mudstone combination, and some of our machines literally have been tainted by it. Like this wheel right here, there's a little bit of brown there. That's older Boulder dust. So as we go through, 80 is a cutter, 220 is a cutter, 280 is a cutter, 600 is a cutter. Then we go to 12,000 polish, 14,000 polish. We have a slurry on the table. This is a 30,000 polish. Then we adjust, as you saw earlier, Big Bertha with a 50,000 polish and a 100,000 polish. Our finished polishing are on our little machine here. I think that's a, what is that called, real quick?
Fan?
Yeah. And here again, everything's dedicated. So we're going to add water to the tray.
Is that distilled water or just?
No, this, I happen to be one of those old people that has the CPAP.
Mm-hmm.
And as I empty gallons of water, I bring it over. You want to come up a little over halfway on your geyser. And when you finish cutting and you're ready to take the material off and you don't need the water, then very gently come in and point the geyser back toward the back of the machine. Do not bring it out here because I'm going to show you. See, if that one hit this light, we'd be in big trouble, right? So you're going to pick it up and let it push out, then bring it over and lay it on your sponge. Right?
Technique.
Yeah, you don't want a 100-watt light bulb breaking in your face. That would be disastrous. So we're going to come in, and I am going to start not on the highest grip, but a heavy grip. May I have your stone? Now I'm not concerned front or back. You see how I just polished it by dropping it in water? Doesn't that not look gorgeous? So we're going to get our 90-degree girdle. And we're going to use the edges of the wheels as much as possible to save the fact we don't want to go concave in the middle. Our wheels last longer if we use the complete wheel. But in the girdle cut, I'm going to go to the edge. And if you notice, I'm not moving fast. I'm actually letting the wheel do the work. My eyesight is only where the stone and the wheel meet. Earlier we said we are talking about cutting as one thought out continuous motion, where you're looking at one thought out continuous motion. Now I'm going to angle this a little to get rid of this particular shard that I'm holding. I'm angling very lightly. I'm creating a 90-degree angle. The worst thing one can do when cutting, cabochoning or opal cutting, is to be taking it on and off and doing it. When that happens, you are creating what I call the golf ball effect, dings and dimples. There we go. And that's not even Boulder. So, you see where we have our 90? Okay. Now, we have this knife edge. That's what we need to get rid of. So we're going to come in, and on the paper it says 45. I really don't do a 45. I just kind of nip it in the bud. The reason we didn't have to flatten the back because it's already flat. Yeah, the pattern is absolutely gorgeous. So now we're ready to dot the stone. And now, when we are dopping, I am literally leaving it up to you if you wish to dop on metal or on wood. We do have a rule. When you cut your Spencer opal, it has to be on a nail. I use brass, copper, or aluminum. I'm sorry, people, I
Aluminum.
can't say that word. Aluminium.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Australian version of whatever that other one was. And the reason we do that, you don't want to use any galvanized nail, because when we remove the dots, if we are using a wooden dot, we just literally saw it off with a small saw. If we are removing metal dots, there's no way we're going to cut it off on the saw. So we use a heat sink method that we heat up the nail flows through to where the glue is and drops off the stone. When we are working,
Does it affect the opal?
not at all. It's a
So the opal, it doesn't, the
The
heat
opal-
doesn't quite
no,
cross that glue
the
barrier?
opal is wrapped in toweling, very wet.
Okay.
We might want to just do that period a little later.
Okay.
But I do not use wax like the cabochon people do, the cabbers.
And the facetors.
I also facet, but I here again use this method of gluing to dots.
Okay.
Okay, so this is nice and clean. This is your dopping station, right here. Okay, if you look, this has a little dome on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of rockety. Okay. And this is where I go back to my childhood, but I don't think this was invented when I was a kid. It's been a long time. Get your Play-Doh out.
That's real Play-Doh.
That's real Play-Doh.
Oh, okay.
And I have enjoyed it so much in my 80s, I'm just telling you. Had I known about it earlier, we'd have had a lot more fun. But I'm going to settle this down. You see how level we are now?
So you're parallel to your mat.
Yeah, we're not rocking, we're not doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick up a wooden dot, and I'm going to get me a little abrasive tool here that gives little fingers out that helps hold the stone. And I am going to, oh yeah, you got them. Clean the stone. Uh-oh. And I'm going to get a nail, even though I'm not using a nail. Oh, thank you. If I were using a nail, I would clean the nail head. Then I'm going to, what I'm doing is just getting body oils and crud off that we've cut with and this type of thing. And I am ready to dop. I use this is from Satellite City Specialty. It's very thick, viscous glue. We use its sister part when we do Spencer Opals. It's very thin, watery glue. So I'm going to uncap, and I'm going to get me a toothpick, and I'm not going to wipe it off. This is what this little lip is for. Out of my way, I'm not going to get stuck. It's going to be okay. Then I place the cap back on. This here again is Satellite City. It is, we'll set this glue within moments. This is, I really want you to understand, and can you see me? Do you need me? Keep your hand flat. Find the middle of your stone. And I'm going to do it, even though I say do not do it. Don't do this. Don't do that. Hold the dot. Get your accelerant. Hold the dot. And you will see it beginning to cure. Pick it up. set it in your block, and tidy up while that's getting where we need it to go. Now, we're not going to go flat, and if you'll look closely, the light and then the dark, if you'll look at the edge of the wheel, you will see a reflection. You see that reflection there? See that reflection there? You're really going to have to get behind it. You cannot see it at angle.
Okay, I do.
See
On the
that?
wheel.
On the wheel? You see that on the wheel?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, just as we said up there, we're going to capture right there. You see I'm on that little dot? And if you look to my right, you see the vacancy on the right side. The wheel is not touching anything. There's your first stroke. Okay, now we're going to come over. There it is. I see the reflection. I'm setting the stone. One thought out continuous motion. Here's your first two strokes. Now we're going to go with the second stroke. And you're going to capture that reflection right there she is. Now, I am going to hold more pressure because that's high. One continuous thought out motion. The stone. We decided we are doing a continuous thought out motion, and that's what we're going to do. On this particular stone, we have a high ridge here. We're flat here and here. Big deal. No, it isn't. You can either use your magic marker or whatever this thing is called, Sharpie. Our girdle is set. It is full of scratches and crap, but we're not worried about it now. Now we are building dome. I like to start from the largest face coming toward the small. So my first stroke is going to be right in here. My second stroke, I'm going to pick up here. On the lecture, I put little dots so you could really see them. Now, on your paperwork, and I think you do have photographs of this, right? Mm-hmm. You will see continuous strokes. I do it as I go, but in this reference, I needed people to understand. So once this is cut and this is cut, then I will move again, maybe to here, to here, to here, to here, and then I will establish a ridge line. Then I will do a quick blend. Check that out really good and move from the 220 wheel over to the 280. That's where we're going to erase the girdle scratches. We're going to face her up and we're going to blend out the 220 scratches. The only thing we should have left are evidence of 280 wheel movements. You don't want any flashback, so these big old hands of mine are going to protect me, and that was not dry enough. You see all the 220 abrasions. That board.
You identify your A side, your B side, your high side, and then you bring it in.
Make sure we're okay. Girdle scratches are gone. Okay. Now we're continuing up the different grits. We always attend to girdle first, and that's push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. And if you notice, I try to use the edges of the wheel. That was a little off 90, so I just fixed it. One must absolutely dry the stone before trying to complete. Outside. I'm letting the machine work for me. There she goes, babe. She's ready to roll. So we're moving now to pre-polish, polish, 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 polish. We're going to come in again. Girdle is always done first. And that's that push pull. Chad, I'm trying to keep my fingers out of the way. Outside. 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 Keep your shoulders to your heels. Push along, push along. Keep your shoulders to the heels. Pull open. Outside. Outside. Inside. Outside. And up.
So very little time inside.
Not a lot. That's where you're going. That's where you.
And if you spend too much time inside, it's on the left.
Oh, excuse me.
It's okay.
You get a lot of light reflection. It's really pretty. Prettier and prettier.
So, are we satisfied with that game? Okay. Let's move on to our 14,000 polish. Here we go. And I think I'll move to the right. It's easier. Push and pull. It does help us light. And then angle outside. 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 This is the scary part because you're afraid to pull. You think you're going to hit girdle, you're not. That perimeter will stop it and everything will get polished. Okay, now remember when we remove the geyser, guys, never leave the geyser in the pan and turn the machine off. You want to pick up your geyser very carefully and aim it to the back. You bring it to your sponge and lie it down, then turn the machine off. And some of you, well, that's crazy. Well, it's not. What happens, you're taking care of your machine. If the water starts coming back through your hose and hits your pumps, you're in big trouble. So never turn it off. It creates a backwash, and eventually you're going to have to replace leathers and pumps and all of this. So just get in the habit of removing it by angling to the back, let it spit out, and put her down. And you will have a machine that lasts 30, 40 years. And fine to final. So this is the next step. We will not use a slurry on Mexican matrix or on Boulder. We don't want white slurry in our matrices. Other than that, go to it. So this, we turn it on just at the smallest speed we have. And this has already been treated, and you see all of it in here. I'm literally just pushing and pulling the girdle, right? Then I'm going around.
It just got so much shinier.
And because we saw here and we saw here, we're going to keep the towel over in case Miss Nancy decided to cut a stone and it broke and contaminated.
It's just protection.
So all we do now is, excuse me, Nancy, go to the sink, and we're just going to rinse it off. And then, of course, we dry. And now we're going to put Big Bertha on the stage. Pads, and I'm using non-treated canvas pads that screw in the edge of the machine. I use a 50 grit, and I use a 100,000 grit. This is where no water comes in. The next 3 steps, no water. I am going to charge this wheel with diamond spray. We'll shake it a little bit. And it won't be charged again for the next 2 weeks. It takes very little. That's it.
Opal base.
Okay. Now that was the 50, and guys, precious and common. This is common, right?
Right.
Okay. So, I'm going to turn, Bessie, you ready? Turn this on. Hear that V8 motor just going. Girdle first, I'm right. Face second. No heat. Turn Bertha off. Dry off your stone. Now if you're impatient and you don't want it to let her just wind down, take this particular rag and go inside and just pressure and slow her down. Normally I have 4 or 5 people in line, so the last person gets to do that. Take her off. That go on the right side. I think this is Mexican, I believe. That's probably
Mexican.
what it was.
Yes, it is.
So when you are using ZAM, do know you want a pretty light coat. You don't want these little strings roping up and cutting your stone. So go easy on your ZAM. If you're worried about it, take a good toothbrush and tone her down a little bit. Okay? And I'll keep that here. And whew, I need to get some more ZAM. Now, we've just polished through 100,000. ZAM is going to polish, we think, about 130 to 150. That's the final. When we are cutting, we do not ZAM a Spencer Opal. If we feel like we need to treat an opal, we do not ZAM. We want no coating closing the pores of opal by Zam Wax. So, but what we're doing now, we just turn her on. What comes first? Girdle. Right? Outside, outside, inside, wherever we go, where she rocks, nobody knows. That's it. There you go, Miss Nancy.